this is my kit. This is not the end-all be-all. There is no the list. You see these books and it says toothbrush, 2 pair of socks. I really despise those checklisty kind of things. Here are your priorities. Don't die from cold weather, like we've already established. Whatever that means for you as an individual, given your temperature and skill set. I've got the weird ability to endure really cold, and then I've got some friends, or my wife, it's the battle of the thermostat, you know. She's freezing to death. But for me, this works, and maybe you'll get some ideas out of that. That's why I'm presenting it to you. Some ways you might get lighter.
And you're probably going to get into this, but how quickly can you get in trouble with the loss of cord?
Quick. If it depends on, there's a lot of environmental factors. If it's windy and you're wet, you're pretty much toast unless you fix that. And that's
so 20 minutes even?
It can't happen that fast. And you can also go hypothermic in temperatures that you normally wouldn't think. 50s, 60s, even low 70s if the conditions are right. And there's a lot of variables. There's nutritional considerations. Where are you at with that? Injury, you know, a person can die from, they call it shock, but it's actually a type of hypothermia if you're injured. So there's a lot of variables. It's the person's age, health, condition. Is it windy? Is it wet? What is the ambient temperature, you know? And that's something else we need to talk about, is how do we lose our core temp? There's a lot of different ways. And remind me, we'll get into that when we do the thermal shelter, because it kind of addresses all of those. So the first thing I've got on top is just a standard poncho. And the reason it's on top, if it starts raining, it goes on to keep all these fuzzy warm layers dry. And so it's right up top and it's ready to be put on to keep me and my pack dry. It's also my shelter. I can build a tent out of that. So it's right there. Right here in the back, neatly folded in this little subsection, is a grabber all-weather blanket, also known in the military as a cast blanket or a casualty blanket. This will reflect your body heat back to you, and it does work. I've tried it. I've really paid attention to my temperature and then laid in it, especially if there's just a little bit of sun. Good stuff. And it's strong enough that you can carry a body on it. If somebody in your area is sick or wounded and you need to carry them, it's strong enough for that. And it's earth tone on this side, so you know, if laying low is a consideration. And it doesn't weigh much. And you're welcome to come up if you're not familiar with any of this stuff. I'm going to leave it laid out. You can get touchy-feely with it at the end. So there that is for a quick fix. And here is a non-militant, non-tactical down jacket that is very lightweight. It crunches up to next to nothing. And it's just another layer. Before I go to bed at night, I put that on. I'm really preserving that core temp. And that came actually, I bought this. I would not have chosen that color, but it works. It works with this pack for out on the road or whatever. Or it could go under a darker layer. This came at the REI garage sale that they have, you know, with all the little damaged stuff.
They're the best.
My wife was there and got it for like dirt cheap.
When is that?
They've already had it just recently.
We do it every year.
But it's definitely something worth
Like
finding out.
every January, maybe?
Go early.
Now you're seeing the size of this pack and you're seeing what's coming out of it. It's going to get pretty impressive. Because most of this stuff is highly functional. This is a recently acquired thing. This is something the Marine Corps is doing now. It's a Marpat poncho liner, also called a whoopee, but it has a zipper in it. So you're actually trapping all of that body heat in. Awesome stuff. And I'm 6'6", right? This thing here, I can put my toe on it to hold it down. And it comes over my head. It's a good roughly 7 feet. And it's wide enough for my shoulders, and I'm pretty broad, so all the better for shorter people, but it's even good for tall people.
And you just had that folded stuffed in there?
Just stuffed. The best way to do a lot of this stuff is to stuff it, because if you fold it, you're defining a space. And if you stuff it, it just finds, your hand will find the way in there. And I just do it in order of priority.
Instead of a sleeping bag, or can you a sleeping bag?
This is a part. This is a part. Okay. Like we talked about shelter being clothing, this is part of my sleep system. I'm wearing it. That'll go on for my core. My balaclava will go on my face. I'll slip my body into this to encapsulate all of that and really hold that last. Let's talk about insulation. what we're doing when we insulate is we're trapping dead air spaces. And that's why we do layers, okay? So for every dead, and that's why you don't want tight clothing. You want this. You want that dead air space, and you want to be able to do this to vent if you start to get hot. So all of this comes together. Even the shelter, that's a wind and water barrier, but it also creates another dead air space. And then between that and my bivvy cover is a dead air space. And between the bivvy and this is dead air. Between that outer layer and this is dead air. And the more of those dead air spaces we can create, the more warm and fuzzy and toasty we'll be. So there's that. And it can be unzipped and used for a broader blanket. So it's pretty versatile that way. Then I have this. It's made by a company called SOL, and it don't go there. It means survive outdoors longer. It's called an escape bivvy. And this is basically a sleeping bag, but it's ultra lightweight. A buddy of ours, Gary, has actually stayed out in this, and what's the coldest he's told you?
High 20s.
High 20s, and he's been out in it for like in the teens of nights, hasn't he? And these are kind of meant for emergency situations. Use them for your medical kits. The company is Adventure Medical Kits, actually, that's attached to this SOL. And if you look in some of their medical kits, they have stuff like this. But this is actually a full bivvy that, believe it or not, I can get into. And
bivvy, it's windproof.
Windproof, waterproof, yet it's breathable. And that's the big thing, is that if you get your Mylar blanket, the one that looks like aluminum foil, they don't breathe. And if you get in those, you'll actually sweat. You have to vent sometimes in them. This doesn't do that, even though it's still got that reflective type deal. But it's still an earth tone color, so it doesn't really stand out. But if I want it to, I can signal with that end of it. But it's got the zipper and all with it. And this is the outermost layer. And I'll let you come check it out. See, it's got a standard drawstring like any other Monday bag. It's got the head pocket. It's got the zipper right there. So what this system starts to look like is you may take something like this, use it for your ground mat. We'll just do a pretend little shelter here.
Your camouflage, man. You didn't even see it.
This gets me off of the ground a little bit in case there's moisture. Okay. Then we'll move on into, I like these. I found them at Walmart. They weigh nothing. They have a little monkey paw looking deal on them. They weigh absolutely nothing. Your bungee that typically has the metal hooks on them, they're heavy. I compared them and it's really weighty. These are not. So right here's our bivvy. That can go on here. Or you could open one side up and go inside of that for yet another layer. This would go inside of this as your liner for your insulatory level. Just like that, see? This is on your body. So you see all these layers we're building? Another thing, we talked about wet. Something you should always have in your kit is enough to cover all your exposed skin in a waterproof container. This is a spare set of clothes. And if I fall in the river and I get out and I'm sitting here about to die, I can strip down and I can put dry things on my body. And all of this is chosen for weight. These are alpaca. They're nothing. They weigh nothing.
And that's just Ziploc. That's not vacuum.
Yeah, it's just a Ziploc. You can use a dry bag, but they're heavier. And this is upper and lower thermals, so I can cover all of my body. Just some layer on my skin and get in this bag and let my wet stuff just be outside. Of course, if it's wool, you can wring it out, put these dry layers against your body, put the wet stuff on the outside back on if you had to. So you got your dry clothes. What's that?
Is it just pants, shirt, socks?
Just basically like your thermal, what they call a base layer, thermal. If you want to pay the money for the wool, I encourage it. I went with synthetics, a lot of this, because of weight. Wool, some of it's a little weightier. That's just a polyprop balaclava. In case this one right here is wet, I've got that one. I'm not real huge on food in the wintertime. I do have some, we'll get into that. Got gloves, of course, for exposed skin. Those are Nomex. They're flame retardant, so if I'm working with fire, it's just a little better protection, because if your hands are numb and you're doing stuff, you can sometimes, I've been burned and not realized it till it was too late. These are nice to have because they're collapsible. If I don't want to carry a bunch of water, but then I realize all of a sudden I want a bunch of water, I can fill these up, stick them in my pockets. So I've got a way to hydrate.
And again, except for the Nomex, this is all coming from Walmart? Mostly?
Pretty much, or hiking shops, it's easily found. I've just got some cord here in case I feel like I need it.
Where'd you find your Marine Corps?
David picked that up for me over at Grouch's Surplus in Clyde, North Carolina. You could probably Amazon.com them or something. I checked with a Surplus here locally and they don't have them. He had one, it was his, and he wouldn't sell it to me. I was negotiating, but I couldn't close the deal. Could not make it happen. Okay, now it's like sleep pads. I know a lot of you are carrying closed foam little pads and things. I'm gonna give you, this is another lightweight option. Just your contractor grade trash bag. You already got leaves out here in these woods. You pack this thing full, crunch them down, keep packing, tie it off, and you created a mattress that weighs nothing.
Nice.
And I can do so much, just tons of stuff with this, you know. So carry a few of those, and that's another trick to hopefully we can get your pack smaller and lighter. I carry this big honking survival knife, big Ninja Commando Rambo. That's my knife.
Pretty tactical.
It is, but it's on a neck sheath. I can just tuck it under my shirt, you know. And then if you need it, you just go under the layer and get it. And it comes right out.
And you're still stealth. You look
Yeah,
like
it could be exactly. It could be concealed if I want it to be. Like if I have to go into town or something, it's just a matter of tucking it. And it's accessible with one hand. I always operate on the assumption this hand's in a sling. As much as I can do with one hand, I try to do with one hand. And some of these other guys have got some sheaths that I designed. He's wearing one. That if you want to go a little bigger, he's got that one. But I kind of like more knives. So there's a cutting device. Here's a map of the Appalachian Trail, because we do live in the AT area. It's just a little pocket map. Here's a road map of the southeastern United States. It's waterproof in case I'm on the roads. I got some ways to make fire here, all on a lanyard.